started.
Rifleman 653. Okay, let's try d4. Okay, d4, d6. What is this? I could play e4 and go into a Philidor defense. Yeah, so he played e5, d6, e5. So what am I playing here? How about if I just defend the d-pawn so I can take back with a pawn? And then bring out the knight, continuing to defend. He pins. I have to unpin because of the threat of d5 there. Okay, so at some point I might decide to take something here or push. I could play d5 and then e4 because he would gain a tempo because he has to move the knight. Oh, but I can't play e4 right away because he's defending that square, so I have to throw in this move. Well, that bishop, where is the bishop going anyway? It gets trapped if it goes back to h5, so it has to go that way. So now I can play there. Let's see what we've got. Seems like a bit of a cramped position for black, but he did get his knights over on the king side, which may be useful. He can get a knight to this square f4. I'm going to go ahead and play g3 anyway. And then bishop. This is kind of funny, but bishop back to f1 and out to g2. Where it supports the e-pawn and it supports the the h-pawn here. So I can castle. He can sack the exchange and win a pawn here. I don't know if that's any good. I don't expect it is, but it's possible. Rook takes, pawn takes, knight takes, and then his knight is kind of loose there. His knight seems kind of loose there, but on the other hand, I have to pause to defend here, so I can't gain a tempo on the knight. And bishop f4 is possible. So maybe queen to b3. So I'm defending that pawn, and I'm not running into this bishop f5, rather diagonal. So he gets a tempo on the queen that way. Now I can play the queen to c7 because now I'm controlling f5. And this pawn is loose. He's got something for the exchange. Okay, I think I want to play bishop e3. No, but it runs into f5. I think in f4, if he pushes f4, I probably want to play g4. Let's move my king out of the way. If he pushes e4, I do have a square for the knight. Here. And I have a perch on f4 for the bishop, but the knight is controlling that square. Okay, and his knight can drop into f3. Somewhat annoyingly. Okay, but that does allow bishop f4, so maybe I should trade off some minor pieces here. They're getting quite active. Okay, the knight should move somewhere, I guess. I was pondering the knight takes f5 there as an idea. Knight to e6, is that possible? Bishop takes, pawn takes. He's got this horde of pawns coming down on me. Or knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. But at least I get an open file for a rook here. Gives me something to do. I need to activate my rooks. He's my advantage in winning the exchange is I've got an extra rook. But until there's an open file, the rooks aren't really doing anything. Okay, so now I do have to think about these pawn pushes. If he pushes to f5, I can take on, if he pushes to f4, I can take on e4. I would really like to trade off a pair of bishops to like get rid of the light squared bishop, and then this my rooks would be much more effective. And where does my queen want to go? Hard to say. I'm going to double rooks for now. I think he's got to try and advance these pawns somewhere if he wants to play for something. The d file is not much good to me right now with both bishop pairs, but if I get rid of the light squared bishop, for example, then that opens up squares on the diagonal, on this file. For example, d7 there becomes available.
Check.
And I get a pawn back too. Okay, so it's just a pawn for the exchange now. But he does have this mass of central pawns here. And, yep, charging ahead with them. So what should I be playing here? I don't want to take and open up my king side. I want to let him take, and I can take back. I want to, yeah, get my queen behind the rook here, also guarding these squares. I left that undefended. That's still defended. But rook d7 is a threat.
Check.
I don't know. Maybe I should have considered taking with the rook. That is a check here. Okay, so let's defend along this rank, the second rank. And now I am once again threatening rook d7. One of these days this threat will become real. And if he pushes that pawn, also I have the idea of queen. Okay, he moved the king instead of the pawn. But I want to get a check in on that king. And if I can exchange queens, that would be good too. So we'll see where I can chase the queen to. Things are defended in my camp pretty well. Maybe I can pick up this pawn here if he can't go to a square that defends it. Queen there. Yeah, so now I can check the king on the light squares here.
Check.
And then I can play rook to d7 after the king moves. I think king moves is the only option here. You can go right, left, or back, or he can come. So is that a move over here? Yeah, go in there. So now with rook d7, how is the queen going to defend? It can go back to this square. Very annoying. Okay, so queen here defends the c-pawn and threatens once again to take the e-pawn. And I may be able to overload the bishop if the bishop tries to defend this pawn. And I can play h4 here. Pawn takes is not possible because it's pinned. And pawn takes, bishop takes, queen here. Might be good. Also, let's see, is there anything else? That looks like the idea. He's a bit tied up defending everything. That also opened up one more square for my king, but my king is a bit loose here. Okay, I can get a check in here. Is this worth something? Check, and he has to move his king to defend the bishop. And check again. Now let's do this. If he takes back with the bishop here, I take here, pinning his bishop and attacking his queen. And there's no check from the queen. My queen is defending c3. So the trade is good. Okay, so now it's just rook against bishop. And I need to just go after these pawns, huh? Okay, so I get this outside pass pawn now, so I can just sack the rook for a bishop now and win that way.
Check.
And if he doesn't let me do that, I can just advance this pawn and queen it.
Check.
Keeping on the light squares. So the king and the rook have access to all the squares on the board.
Check.
And the poor bishop only gets half the squares. Let's chase the bishop first. I want to get my king in a good position before advancing to before advancing the pawn again. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So he's going to I can always get my rook out of here. It's always a bit dangerous to self-trap your king like that. Okay, maybe I should just take the bishop. bishop.
Black resigns.
Okay, yeah, I probably could have done that quicker. But yeah, rook is just a better piece than the bishop in the endgame. Unless you have some pawns to compensate for it, you should be able to win those. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll do a post-mortem, and I'll see you again later. Bye.